Hi everyone, welcome back if you have been following the channel, and a very warm welcome if you are new here. I'm very glad you made it. Today we are diving into August 2026 monthly forecast. August is a month that brings a powerful turning point as we enter the second eclipse season of the year. Usually we have two eclipses seasons every year. The first one in 2026 was last March, and this is the second eclipse season. We have two eclipses in August. The first one is a solar eclipse in Leo, and the second one will be lunar eclipse in Pisces. They both could bring new beginnings, important endings, and meaningful change, not for everybody, depending on our personal charts. Now, the second thing that we have in August is four personal planets changing signs. We're going to have the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars creating a noticeable shift in our daily personal life. Also, Chiron begins its retrograde journey in Taurus, inviting us to revisit the themes of self-worth and security and heal those ones. We also have one of the most luckiest and supportive aspects as Venus forms a harmonious sextile to Jupiter, opening the door to growth, opportunities, and greater ease. My name is Christine. I'm an astrologer and a life coach, and I help women navigate midlife with clarity and self-trust. I also work with astrology as a practical tool for timing, emotional awareness, and decision-making in real life. If this message resonates with you, please subscribe, share, and like, and become part of this growing community. If you would like to receive a daily moon pulse, guidance, and weekly classes with guided astrology support, life coaching tools, practices, reflection questions, meditations, and much more, you can join the Evolving Self membership. Links are below in the description box. Now let's begin with the Sun journey, which is going to shift from the Leo season to the Virgo season. The Sun represents our vitality, our life force, our core essence, and who we are at the core level, where our attention is focused and how and where we grow. We begin August with the Sun continuing its journey through Leo, and it's going to stay there for almost 3 weeks of August. Leo is the sign that encourages us to reconnect with our heart, with our creativity, with our authentic self. Leo reminds us that each of us has a unique gift and talent that are meant to be expressed and seen. So you have plenty of time in August to reconnect with your inner child, express yourself, trust yourself, rediscover what lights you up, what brings you joy, and allow yourself to be seen for who you truly are rather than what other people are expecting from you. Leo also have lots of fun. It likes to play. It likes to have fun. So make sure while we are in the summer season to enjoy your time and allow time for activities that brings you joy, that brings joy to your heart. One of the greatest gifts of Leo is also creativity. Creativity brings joy and fulfillment. So if you have any project that you have been postponing because you didn't have time or for any other reason, make sure to put some time aside to start this project this month. The energy will help you with creativity. Those are all higher octave energy of Leo. Now there is a challenging and a lower octave energy of Leo. Leo also seeks validation instead of authenticity. It can become overly focused on recognition, approval, status, performing for audience. Rather than expressing your true self, you may find yourself expressing the version of yourself that you think others wants to see. So Leo could be self-centered and needs always to be right. So this month is calling us to notice where are we seeking external validation instead of trusting our inner voice and wisdom. Every time you catch yourself asking, what will other people think about that or this? Replace this question with, is this true to who I am? On August 23rd, the Sun leaves Leo and enters Virgo, and the energy begins to shift in a completely different way. Virgo is an earth sign. It brings our attention to the analytical side of life, our daily routines, our health, our work, our daily responsibilities, the people we interact with on a daily basis, and the choices we make every single day. While Leo encourages us to discover who we are, Virgo asks us to create a life that supports us. Virgo also has a higher octave and a lower octave energy. The higher octave of Virgo is discernment, organizations, being of service to others, continuous self-improvement. Virgo encourages us to create healthy routines, take care of our physical and emotional well-being, and develop skills and bring order to our daily life. Virgo reminds us every small step matters because those small steps eventually create lasting change. The lower octave of Virgo, however, we can become trapped in perfectionism, overthinking, self-criticism, self-doubt, worrying about every single detail, believing that nothing is good enough. Virgo, instead of using its analytical skills to move forward, it can lead to analysis paralysis, where we can continue going into a loop of planning and fixing and keep waiting for the perfect moment instead of taking action. It can also become overly critical of ourselves and others, focusing on what's wrong instead of recognizing how far we have become. Notice where you've been spending too much time trying to get everything right and perfect, that you might not give yourself the permission to start something new. Sometimes the next step doesn't require a better plan. It simply requires us to trust ourselves and learn along the way. As the sun moves from Leo into Virgo, the question changes. Leo asks, what brings me joy? And Virgo asks, how can I make room for that joy in my everyday life? It's one thing to know what lights you up. It's another thing to create the routines and boundaries and priorities that makes it part of your real life on a daily basis. Now, the eclipse season starts, and this would be one of the biggest themes this month. We are entering the second eclipse season of 2026. Although we have one new moon and one full moon every month, we have two eclipse seasons every year. The first eclipse season was in March, and we are having the second one in August, which makes August a very special month because eclipses are so powerful. They carry life-changing events, long-lasting change of direction. Usually big events or life-turning events takes place during eclipses. I just read a post that even the trees produce some kind of electric energy during the eclipse time. During an eclipse, the sun and the moon and the lunar nodes align together. And the north node and the south node represents our evolutionary journey, our life path, where we have been coming from and where we are heading to or being asked to grow. So when an eclipse happens, it usually accelerates events that are unfolding in our life. We may notice that things happen much faster than expected. Something you've been waiting for finally happened, while something you have been holding on may naturally come to an end. Eclipses tend to remove what's no longer aligned with your path and create space for what needs to emerge next. This eclipse season is significant because it's the first eclipse season on the new Aquarius-Leo nodal axis. Last month, the north node moved into Aquarius and the south node moved into Leo, beginning a new 18 months evolutionary cycle in those two signs. This coming eclipse begins the activating the story. The decisions you make or the events that unfold during this eclipse season are likely to continue developing over the next year and a half. Solar eclipses are amplified new moons. They plant seeds for a chapter that continue to unfold for many months to come. Leo governs our creativity, our confidence, self-expression and joy, leadership, romance, and children, and the courage to be seen for who we are. But Jupiter is also traveling through Leo this year. This eclipse carries even greater significance because of Jupiter being at the same sign in Leo. Jupiter expands whatever it touches. So this eclipse could encourage you to grow into a bigger version of yourself. For some of you, this eclipse may inspire you to create something new, a new project. For others, it could bring a new relationship, new role, or the confidence even to finally pursue something that you have postponed for years. The higher expression of this eclipse is having the courage to express yourself, to share your gifts without seeking permission from anyone, and to lead from your heart rather than from the ego. The lower expression is to continue seeking validation, recognition, or approval from others before allowing yourself to shine. It's believing that your worth depends on how much others see you rather than recognizing the value that you already carry within yourself. This eclipse season will take place at 20 degrees in Leo. I will do a separate video to go through the energy of this eclipse and the other eclipse on August 28th, and I will also do a full reading for each sign. So make sure to watch this video if you want to go deeper in understanding these two eclipses and how it could affect your life. Now, the second one is the August 28th. It will be a lunar eclipse in Pisces. 2 weeks after this one, we experience a lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees. Now, solar eclipses begin a new chapter. Lunar eclipses illuminate what has already reached completion. In addition, Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac. It represents endings, surrender, compassion, forgiveness, trusting the natural cycles of life. So this eclipse may ask you to release what you have emotionally and spiritually outgrown. The lunar eclipse is specifically significant because it's the final eclipse on the Pisces Virgo axis before the new Aquarius Leo cycle takes over the next year and a half. In many ways, it represents the closing chapter of a story that began when the nodes were traveling through Pisces and Virgo. Before we fully step into the future, this eclipse gives us one final opportunity to release what no longer belongs to our life. This eclipse is at 4 degrees, a degree that highly activated through 2026 on July 19. Remember the 4-degree activation point between Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus all activated this degree through a major harmonious aspects, creating one of the most significant planetary patterns of the year. Many astrologers have been talking about it. So it's a very powerful expansion, transformation, inspiration, abundance, all of them working together. Although these planets are no longer sitting at 4 degrees when this second eclipse happened, however, the eclipse itself activates the same degree, bringing our attention back to the story that began in July 19. So what did you begin in July 19? In astrology, degrees can act like activation point. However, it would take a longer time to come to a fully fruition. When an important transit happens at a degree that already have been strongly emphasized, it often reawakens the themes at that time, bringing greater clarity, movement, a significant turning point. This eclipse is likely to move forward something that was initiated during that time of the 4-degree activation point on July 19. Even adding more intensity, this lunar eclipse forms a square to Uranus in Gemini. Uranus is the planet of sudden change, breakthrough, liberation, and unexpected events. Square creates tension that demands action. So this eclipse may bring surprising developments that encourage you to let go of some emotional patterns, outdated beliefs, or situations that they have quietly reached their expiration date. The invitation of this eclipse is to ask yourself, what am I still carrying that belongs to previous chapter of my life? And what am I finally ready to release so that I can move forward with this new Aquarius Leo cycle with greater clarity, intention, and purpose? One of the reasons August feels so different from July is that 4 personal planets change signs. We talked about the sun starting the Virgo season and moving into Virgo earlier in this video. Now we're going to talk about the other personal planets. So we've got the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars moving quickly closer to the Earth. That's why they influence our everyday experiences much more directly than the outer planets. They shape how we think, communicate, relate to others, take action, love, manage our money, manage our emotions, where we naturally focus our attention. In essence, they manage how we are being. While these transits influence all of us collectively, they will play differently for each person because they activate different houses in your birth chart and different other personal planets in your natal chart. For one person, a transit may highlight relationship. For others, they may bring changes in careers, family, finances, or health. That's why a personal birth chart provides a much more accurate picture of how those energies are likely to unfold in your own life. Now, I'd like to understand that these transits are activating your unique chart. That's something we explore on a one-on-one natal chart reading, where we look at the specific houses, planetary placements, and the timing that are very unique to you. Now, let's look at each one. August 6th. Venus enters Libra. The second personal planet to change signs after the Sun is Venus, as she is going to leave Virgo and returns to one of her home signs and favorite ones, Libra, on August 6th. Venus represents our relationships, our values, our self-worth, our finances, and the way we give and receive love. When Venus is in Libra, she is very comfortable. She expresses herself very naturally. She encourages us to create more balance and harmony and fairness in all our relationships, not just with others, but also with ourselves. Libra seeks cooperation, diplomacy, kindness, creates relationship built on mutual respect. It reminds us that healthy relationships are never one-sided. They require both people to feel heard, valued, appreciated, while the lower octave of Libra may avoid conflict and difficult conversations just to keep the peace. People can become people pleaser, constantly putting everyone else's needs first instead of themselves, so quietly ignoring their own needs. Sometimes the fear of conflict becomes greater than the desire of standing up for yourself. Venus in Libra is inviting you to notice where you are creating harmony and where you are avoiding discomfort to keep the peace. I would like to remind you that true harmony comes from keeping healthy boundaries and mutual respect, not from sacrificing ourselves to keep everybody else happy. Now, another personal planet is moving houses and signs, which is Mercury, is going to enter Leo. That's going to happen on August 9 when it finally leaves Cancer. So it has been there for a few months because of the retrograde. Mercury represents our mind, our communication, our learning, our decision making, and how we express and process information. Mercury also represents mobility and contracts. So if you have been postponing signing a contract, buying a car, selling a car, traveling, this is the right time to do it, but with discernment, because Mercury is also the ruler of Virgo. As Mercury enters Leo, our thinking now becomes more confident, creative, expressive. We might find it easier to speak from our heart, share our ideas, teach, inspire others, or finally have conversations that we have been postponing. Mercury in Leo communicates from the heart. Mercury in Leo is warm. The communication are encouraging, creative, and inspiring. It has the courage to express its ideas with confidence while allowing others to shine as well. However, the lower octave of Mercury in Leo can be dramatic, opinionated, or convinced that its perspective is the only correct one. So it might speak to be admired rather to be heard and genuinely connect with others. This transit is inviting you to ask yourself, am I speaking to express my truth or am I speaking to gain approval? There is a big difference between confidence and the need to prove yourself to others. Now, on August 10, another personal planet is going to shift houses and signs. Mars will enter Cancer. Mars will leave Gemini and enter Cancer one day after Venus enters Libra, creating one of the biggest energetic shifts this month. Mars represents our drive, our actions, motivation, ambition, and courage, and stamina, and the way we take actions. In Gemini, Mars has been directing our energy towards learning, gathering information, conversation, and exploring different possibilities. Once Mars enters Cancer, our motivation becomes more emotional, internal. We focus on home, family, and emotional security in our loved ones. Mars in Cancer uses its emotional intelligence to act and protect and nurture and support and create a sense of safety for itself and those who loves. And those it loves. Mars falls in Cancer. It is not that strong. It means it doesn't have all the tools to do what it needs to do. So it can become defensive or reactive or passive aggressive or allow emotions to dictate every decision. So instead of responding thoughtfully, it might react from old emotional wounds or childhood conditioning. So Mars in Cancer is inviting you to notice if your actions are creating greater emotional security or simply protecting old fears. Sometimes protecting ourselves is important. Other times it keeps us from growing. As all these personal planets change signs through August, notice how your focus naturally shifts from one area of life to another. Venus is encouraging you to create healthier, more balanced relationships. Mercury gives you the confidence to express yourself, what you have been thinking about, while Mars asks you to take action based on what truly makes you feel emotionally secure. Together, all these personal planets and transits is reminding us the last change doesn't happen through one big event. It happens through choices we make every day. By becoming more aware of how we relate, communicate, act, and begin aligning our daily life with the future we're trying to create. Another transit happening in August is Chiron retrograde. So on August 4th, Chiron begins its retrograde journey in Taurus, where it will remain in retrograde until the end of the year. However, it will change signs and go back to Aries for the last time on September 18 to finish the last few lessons of healing in Aries before it moves for good in April next year for another 8 years. Chiron represents our deepest wound, what we came to heal in this lifetime. But more important, it also represents the gifts of healing and wisdom we gain through this healing process. With Chiron retrograde in Taurus this month, we are invited to visit our relationship with self-worth, security, stability, finances, our values, and our relationship with our physical body. This transit can begin important questions such as, do you have enough resources, enough money, enough time, enough meaningful connections, and also if you truly value yourself or measure your worth based on what you do or what you have. Do you feel secure because of what you own or because of who you are? It will also ask you for the coming years to measure whether this foundation is strong enough to carry you on. So those are not easy questions to ask, and they will be very powerful. As Chiron retraces its steps back over the next few months, pay attention to the recurring themes about money, self-worth, your health, your body, the values that guide your decisions. If something from the past comes back, rather than asking, why is it happening again? Try to ask, what is this experience is trying to teach me that I wasn't ready to understand before? Sometimes healing is not about changing the past, it's about changing the meaning behind the stories of the past that needs to change. We'll end this month forecast with one of the most supportive aspects of the month. On August 18, Venus in Libra is going to form a harmonious sextile to Jupiter in Leo. In astrology, Venus and Jupiter are traditionally known as a very two benefic planets. When they come together through a harmonious aspect like a sextile or a trine, they create opportunities for growth, expansion, abundance, opportunities to connect with others, opportunities to create abundance in our life. While a sextile doesn't simply hand us those opportunities, it opens the door and ask us to take an action. Venus in Libra encourages us to create healthier, more balanced relationship, strengthen our sense of self-worth, and appreciate the beauty and harmony in our life. Jupiter in Leo expands our creativity and confidence, generosity, willingness to express ourselves from the heart. Together, these two planets are reminding us that growth comes through saying yes to an opportunity, allowing yourself to receive support, believing that you are worthy of something that you are manifesting. Now, notice during this time what kind of opportunities are appearing in your life and ask yourself whether this could be a life opening door for you or a door for something that will completely change your direction. This month asks you to embrace change. As we move through this month, remember that every ending creates space for something new, and every small choice you make today becomes part of your life that you're creating tomorrow. I hope this forecast has helped you better understand the energy of August. If it did, I'd love to hear back from you. Leave me a comment below. Let me know which transit or eclipse resonated the most for you and what area of your life you're feeling called to transform. And if you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who might benefit from it, and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the coming videos. Until next time, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.